Hi, and welcome to a special edition of Jules Voto's Photo Focus. On January 3rd of this year, 2024, I published a video with my New Year's resolutions, my photography New Year's resolutions for 2024. There were 5 of them, and the first one, I stated that I would not be buying any equipment this year, that I had everything I needed, wanted to try to save some money, and would not be making any purchases. But then I started reading about the Plena, the Nikon 135 1.8 Z-mount Plena lens. And the reviews were glowing. And I had to have that lens. So a couple days ago, I placed an order and I received it yesterday, and here it is. It is big, it is heavy, but so far I am very impressed. So in this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the lens, and then we're going to look at a sharpness test I did. I was just anxious to see, because everyone was saying in the reviews that it was sharp edge to edge at 1.8. So I wanted to see for myself if that was true. So we're going to look at it shot at 1.8, at 2.8, and 5.6. And I used the setup you see behind me, which I usually use to test sharpness of lenses. It's a heavy lens. It weighs 35 ounces or 995 grams, and that compares to the 70 to 200 2.8. That's 48 ounces, so it's 13 ounces heavier, and I think it's about 1,350 grams for the 70 to 200. So it's lighter than that. I use the 70 to 200 all the time, so I don't think the weight will bother me with this. It's just beautifully made, very well made. The focusing ring is rubberized. The function ring at the back is rubberized. And a nice thing with this ring, it's much stiffer to turn than on my other Z-mount lenses. So less likelihood of kind of bumping into it and changing the setting. Normally, I just have that ring set on my other Z-mount lenses. I just have it set to do nothing because I have bumped into it in the past. But I think I may set this one for exposure compensation. Okay, so let's go look at some of these test images I shot, and I'm going to post them. I'm going to put a link in the description below to these actual images so you can download them for yourself and see what you think. So let's go, and I hope it lives up to expectations. Okay, so this is my standard test setup, and I had the 180 1.8 mounted on my Nikon Z8 on a tripod, and I was 16 feet back from the setup. That's as far back as I could go in my basement. The focus was on that 300 millimeter lens to the right of the mannequin as you're viewing this image, and I focused on the 50-foot mark in yellow on the lens using the pinpoint focus, and metering was done with an incident light meter. And as I stopped the lens down, obviously the shutter speed was adjusted to keep the exposure the same, and also I took a white balance off of a gray card. Okay, you will also notice in the center below the mannequin head a white index card with 1.8 circled. As I stopped the lens down, I circled the appropriate aperture. So for example, when we look at an image shot at 2.8, you will see 1.82 and 2.8 circled. Okay, so here we are at the center at 1.8, and this lens, I don't think I've ever seen a lens as sharp as this, wide open on the center of my setup. Those batteries at the bottom, you can never make out the detail, and that is really small in those 9-volt batteries, but you can actually make it out. It's amazing to me. Also, contrast, color are great with this lens. Now, here's the left side at 1.8. Now, you will notice that 200mm lens right at the 2-inch mark on the ruler. That's on the same plane with the Nikon F slide copying box, with the 300mm lens on the other side, the color checker, and so forth. That other lens you see to the left of the 200 is 6 inches back from the 200. I know it don't look that way, that it's that far back, but it is. That's why that is out of focus. It's out of the depth of field. And that's because a telephoto lens pulls things in closer. It makes things in the background look closer to the plane of focus than it really is. Okay, so here's the right side. And if you look up to the right on that Nikon EL at that lens, I mean, that's right out to the edge, and it is extremely sharp. This is at 1.8. So does it live up to expectations, or what all the other reviewers said? Is it true that it's sharp right out to the edge at 1.8? Yes, no question. So here I am at f2, and I just did the center shot because there's really no difference. Does it sharpen up a little bit? Maybe. Maybe you could see that in the hairs on the face of the mannequin, but I don't know. It's just really sharp at 1.8, and I don't see a huge improvement stopping down. At 2.8, I think it might sharpen up just a little. Again, it's so close, and I just think the contrast has a contrast improved. No, I think it's the same. I think it's just got great color, great contrast, and I know I repeat this, but I'm very impressed. So now we go back to the left side at 2.8, much of the same, very sharp. Now that Canon camera you see there, that is set back about 2 inches behind that lens on the Nikon EM. So I think by the 2.8, that has sharpened up nice as well. And you could also start to make it out detail on the globe. Now we go back to the right side, and everything's in focus. Everything has remained sharp. Now everything here is just about on the same plane except for those flowers. The lens of the EL is right up to that Nikon box. Of course, the camera body is a little further back, but that looks sharp. And here we are at 5.6. I didn't go any further. I didn't stop down anymore, because you buy a lens like this to shoot it wide open or a few stops down from wide open. I don't think I'll ever shoot it at a smaller aperture than 5.6, but it's extremely sharp here. I think maybe though those batteries, you can see a little bit more detail. Now we go to the left side, and now that lens on the Nicormat that is set back a little bit, that's set back 6 inches, that starts to sharpen up as depth of field increases. Okay, so now we're going to go look at the right side at 5.6, and nothing really changes. I mean, this lens stays sharp throughout. The only thing you gain really by stopping down is an increase in depth of field. So I just wanted to see sharpness on this lens. I was amazed when people said, it's sharp across the board at 1.8, but it truly is. And I don't think I've ever seen that before on a lens at this speed, or 1.4 or 1.8 or 1.2, that was sharp right across the frame. And I will be doing further testing on this lens. I want to test the bokeh, which everyone says is excellent. I want to see about the vignetting. Wide open, they say there is no vignetting because of the large image circle with this lens. I also want to test the speed of the autofocus on some action pictures, because that's supposed to be decent. So I will be getting around to that. But just for now, believe what you read, believe what you see on YouTube videos about the sharpness at 1.8. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I normally come out with a new video every Monday morning and Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I will talk to you next time.